Well, what's going on, everyone? You know what? To get in the mood of this review, let's make it in black and white like the movie is. Well, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Passing, the newest film from director Rebecca Hall. Now, before we begin, if you like what you see on this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, as well as comment below any video that you watch, including this one. So Passing takes place in the 1920s and is based off an early 1920s book, an African-American book. It stars Tessa Thompson as Irene, who's a very affluent African-American individual. She has a couple kids, her husband's very wealthy, and she goes through life and through New York City at the time as a very affluent black American, but is because of how she looks and how she dresses, everybody assumes she's a white American woman. And she, as she travels through her days, she comes across a character who's played by Ruth Negga, who plays Claire. And there are a couple individuals who've known each other since high school and so on and so forth. And they basically rekindle their relationship, but the problem is Ruth Negga's husband, who's played by Skarsgård, is a very racist individual. The things he says in this movie are very uncomfortable to watch, and he basically says something that really offends her, and they actually form this relationship, or kind of relationship that kind of spirals out of bounds when, you know, Ruth Negga's character kind of gets involved with the husband of Tessa Thompson's character, who's played by Holland. And it starts everything about Tessa Thompson's world and Ruth Negga's world kind of spirals out of control in this kind of, you know, idealism about racism, idealism about affluent, you know, African Americans, the idea of kind of hiding who you really are. And in essence, what this movie is a puzzle box, as Rebecca Hall says it, of just all these types of ideas and ideologies kind of thrown into one, with a very interesting ending to the movie. So when it comes to a movie like this movie has a lot of things to say. It has a lot of things to kind of portray about African American culture from every kind of asset and every kind of area that you can imagine. Because it takes place in the 1920s, and you know, the white American culture was not as accepting as the black American culture, it takes someone like Irene or Claire to have some kind of substance or reality. But it also shows you that Irene, who wants to portray herself very affluent, is unwilling to kind of talk to people, talk to her kids, or talk to her husband about being African American, about people and their culture being mistreated and so on and so forth. So it's a movie that's dealing with a lot of interesting topics and a lot of very disturbing topics, but it's a very relevant movie in what it's trying to portray. And it's a movie that feels like Rebecca Hall, who, you know, found this book very early on, put a lot of heart and a lot of her soul into the movie to portray a very realistic approach to these characters and so on and so forth. And you can see it in every frame and aspect of this movie, because the way it's shot, the white characters in this movie are very much of a stereotype of that time. Bill Camp plays this one character that, you know, the Tessa Thompson character is very much friendly with, but he is very much a racist as well. And it just shows you like how she is kind of just intertwined with these different realities, and like the way to kind of push her out of these realities is to see kind of the sad nature of people like Bill Camp's character or Alexander Skarsgård's character. And it really feels, like I said, like Rebecca Hall was trying to really hone in on that idea of, you know, just the nature of racism and the nature of idealism and the nature of trying to be who you are. And it's a very fascinating movie. You know, the way it's shot is a very old school feel to it. You know, it's a 4:3 ratio, once again, like John in the Hole. It's all in black and white, and it's very overexposed. The lighting and whiteness of the light and sky and stuff like that really kind of oversaturates the world portraying, but it really feels like a 1940s film, not only with the kind of clothing and, you know, costume and the design of the movie itself, but just the overall scope and feel and just how it's shot and the angles that Rebecca Hall uses. You know, at the end of this movie, there's a really cool kind of Hitchcockian shot as it pans up from the ground up, and it's just a really kind of clever way to do a movie that really feels like a very authentic and different feeling type of movie that you're usually not used to seeing. And when you go back and watch something like Mank, which this movie is very much in line with when it comes to cinematography and look and feel, it really feels like these directors are trying to home back to a time when stuff had a very kind of odd and very kind of cool and very just kind of interesting mystery style feel, because this movie has very mystery aspects in it, and it's very ambiguous in what it's trying to do with a lot of aspects aspects of this nature of its filmmaking. But with that said, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was portrayed very well. I think the ideas sometimes that are being presented are a little obtuse and a little ambiguous, but I think overall for a first-time directorial effort for somebody like Rebecca Hall, I think she knocked it out of the park. I think people like Ruth Negga and Tessa Thompson just really hone their skill, really do a nice job of portraying these individuals. And you know, it's really nice to see Tessa Thompson, who was just kind of coming to her own from doing big budget pictures or small budget pictures, really just kind of craft her own identity and reality. And she just does a really nice job of portraying someone who has to kind of have her eyes open from, you know, the kind of scared nature of the world she lives in. And Ruth Negga, who actually who got an Oscar nomination for Loving, it does such great work here. The character that's kind of opening up the Irene character and how she is portrayed, and how even she is scared of her own husband, how she kind of is like, this is almost like a triangle threesome type of situation where where she's like so connected like a magnet to Irene and Andre Holland's character, that when she starts eking in, like kind of like seeping into the souls of both characters, you start to see kind of just the nature of how kind of clawing she is, but how just kind of a sad nature individual that she is. She's always at their house. She's always around them. She almost feels like almost like the third wheel of a romantic relationship, even though there's not really that much romance in the movie. But I think Ruth Negga and Tessa Thompson are giving Oscar level quality work. They're just that good in the movie, and it doesn't take away from like Andre Holland or Alexander Skarsgård, but these two individuals are given such great material, and they do such nice jobs with it, that they give just great performances, and it's just a really awe-inspiring and really kind of great thing to watch. So I give a lot of credit to both actresses for doing such a great job in this role, or in these roles, I should say. But as this movie kind of moves along, and as you start getting the ideas and the topics presented, I think the weightness of it, the weighty nature of what's being presented, it starts to struggle under its own weight of what it's trying to do. It feels a little pretentious at times on what it's trying to represent, what it's trying to say. It doesn't make it a bad movie, but sometimes it just feels like, you know, when they're representing like racism, or they're representing ideologies and cultures of the African American community, or they're doing this and this and this, it feels like sometimes the floorboard underneath is starting to buckle a little bit. And that's just the nature of, you know, the material that's being presented, and how the 1920s view is being presented now, where sometimes it just becomes a little too much. But that doesn't make it a bad thing. It just, sometimes that weightiness kind of buckles a little bit. So it's not a bad thing, but it's just a little much. But then it leads to an ending, which I won't spoil, but it's very ambiguous. It's very kind of, you're not really sure exactly what happens, but it's very effective. It's very interesting, and it's very, to me personally, very Hitchcockian, for the simple fact of you are just not expecting it to go where it went, and you're not expecting it to do what it did. But it's such a very powerful, potent ending that it really kind of confirms how good this movie can be when its messages are on point, and when Rebecca Hall is at her best when she's filming this movie with her cinematographer and, you know, her producers and so on and so forth, and actresses. And so therefore it's just, it creates a level of just, oh my gosh, that I can't believe that just happened. And it's a very effective ending. It really is. It left me with my jaw a little bit on the floor, being like, oh wow, okay, that's how this movie's gonna end. But like I said, it's very Hitchcockian in its feel and how it ends. It's very ambiguous, and is very interesting, I guess you could say. But to kind of close this out, Rebecca Hall and her deftness as a director, she does a really good job here, a really fantastic job. If this is her first project, I can't wait to see what she has for the future, what she has to say. You know, like I said, her script's very strong, so it's material that is well represented, it's very well directed, very well acted, and like I said with Franz Kranz, it's a director that really, for their first time, has a really good depth on what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say. So overall, I do like this movie a lot. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it has some issues, but overall, I think it's a good first effort, or actually a great first effort for Rebecca Hall. So, but that's it. That's gonna be my take on this movie, Passing. Thank you so much for watching. From what you've seen of it and the reviews and so on and so forth, is this something that interests you very much? You know, is it something you're looking forward to? Who knows when this movie's gonna come out? Probably something like A24 or Apple will pick it up and so on and so forth. But that'll do it. That'll be my take. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.